Hey everybody, Lorelia here, and I am doing a video on, that's right, you've seen the title, Poverty Charges Interest. What do I mean? So I shared a meme that I saw online. I saw it on Facebook, and so I shared it on Instagram, and I shared it here on YouTube. It was a meme with the presidential candidate Andrew Yang, and it talked about poverty being expensive. And I know on this channel I have did a lot of commentary, or should I say, I've did a few videos on Andrew Yang and the whole universal basic income. And this is not a video about if I support him, if I don't. But I have to say, whoever created the meme, I'm not sure if his team created the meme, but it was true. Check it out. Like I said, it's right here on the community tab here on YouTube. So I say all that to say, as we go into, thank you so much, Stacy. Thank you. As we go into, the presidential season, and many people are really distracted by what's being said in terms of should you vote for the current president, and should you vote for the Democrats and Republicans. And although this is not a political video, but it is a video for you to really wake up financially, and don't get distracted, because this is what I have to say. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like this. Is going to be one of those videos that people just they're either going to agree or not agree. But the president does not have any bearings on what happens to your life financially. What do I mean by that? I'm going to give you a timeline of my life. Since I've been living, the first president who was in office during my time of growing up, I grew up, was born in the 70s. So who was president? President Ford, President Carter. Then we go into the 80s, Reagan. Then from there, Daddy Bush, son Bush, President Clinton, and then President Obama. Okay, well, why do I give you that timeline of all those different presidents? Because, I did not grow up in a family of wealth. I grew up in a working class family. And the one thing that was certain in my household, because nothing changed, was that it didn't matter who was the president. My household stayed the same. And I'm talking about in terms of me growing up, because I'm a child. It's nothing I can do. So now that I'm an adult, I've enlightened myself financially, and I truly know that if anything's going to change, the change is going to be within me. Because the meme that I shared is so true. Poverty is real. Okay, well, there you go. You got to do what you feel is best. But the point that I'm really making, and I want to bring home with this video, is that if you are currently being plagued with poverty, the president ain't going to change anything. Whether it's boogeyman Trump, whether it's any, presidential candidate, if you're in poverty right now and you don't decide to do anything, there is not going to be any president who's going to change the landscape of your life. because you have to make that change. You have to make that change. You do, especially if you're an adult. I don't think no children watch my channel. So, of course, I'm not talking to children. Because like I gave you a timeline of my life, nothing changed financially in my household regardless of who was president. Whether we need to vote, because if we don't vote, we can't make any changes. I mean, you know, this is not a video on voting. Stacey, you're right. If you feel like voting changes things, by all means, you go ahead and do it. It's really, what I really want to bring home with this video is the topic of poverty, the topic of you financially struggling. See, there are some people who truly do believe that the current president who is in office today is the reason why they're struggling financially. They truly believe that if he gets into office the next 4 years, they're going to go further, they're going to spiral further down in a financial hole. But my question is this is not to support the current president who is in office today, but I bet you if you ask those same people who are struggling financially now, they struggled financially when the previous president was in office. So if you're African American and you didn't thrive financially when the previous president was in office, Obama, what's going to change with another president? See, the only thing that's going to change is you. Because, see, what people don't understand is they don't understand the rules of the game. And the rules of the game, the benefits of being in this country is that if you decide to be an entrepreneur, you create your own paycheck. You decide on if you want to make more money or less money. Why? Because unfortunately the laws, as much as the presidential candidates talk about, you know, a company like Amazon making billions of dollars and not paying taxes, and the Apples and the Googles, companies who have billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they're able to escape the U.S. tax code. Understand, they're just saying things to appeal to people who are struggling financially, knowing that the tax laws in this country were to benefit the wealthy. When I talk about leverage on this channel, and I know primarily when I talk about leverage, I talk about it in the sense of credit. But the reason why billion-dollar companies are able to not pay any income tax, whereas you, the common man or woman who goes to work every day, and you don't understand why all your hard-earned money is going into taxes, is because the companies are leveraging the workers. See, that's what I tried to bring home in the video I did yesterday. The wealthy understands leverage. It's only the financially struggling and the poor and those who are in poverty who don't understand leverage. They're not leveraging nothing. That's why you will have people, when I have the credit conversation, who's so frightened of credit that they don't know how to leverage it. By all means, like, that's why I did the video yesterday, and I cautioned you. And I said, if you don't have the financial fortitude and understand credit and how to leverage credit and how to play the game, don't play the game. Because I understand some people are at the Dave Ramsey portion financially of their life. And when I say the Dave Ramsey portion is, you know, debt is bad, you know, credit is bad, and, you know, pay cash for everything. And even someone like a Dave Ramsey, he probably ain't even, he's not even using cash all the time. Maybe he did during the times when he was struggling financially, that he tells his story of, many moons ago, 40 something years ago, but he's not doing it now. But going back to what I was saying about, poverty charges interest. It's expensive to be poor. It's expensive, because what the poor don't understand is that you may not have the money now, but you eventually have to pay. It's like what the meme says, that meme that I'm telling you about, that I shared. You got a toothache, don't have medical insurance to get it fixed. Next year you need a root canal. Can't buy a new mattress. Next year, got to get back surgery. The list goes on and on and on. And that is what a lot of people find when they struggle financially. That's what they do. They ignore their problems. How do I know? Because that was my lifestyle growing up. My parents robbing Peter to pay Paul, even though they worked. I've said on this video before, my mother had A1 credit. But she didn't know how to leverage it. My mother always had good credit. But she was struggling just like everybody else. I mean, don't get me wrong, the credit she was able to, access, cash whenever she needed it. Because she would be able to go to the bank and get a personal loan if she needed it. But once again, that personal loan wasn't to build wealth. A lot of times that personal loan was to pay bills. And like I said in the video yesterday, there's no need of accessing capital and accessing credit to get you further and further in debt. So the reason why, although I shared the Facebook meme with Andrew Yang, and I did videos on why I was so not interested in what Andrew Yang was saying when it came to universal basic income. Because see, the problem that I have with these political figures is that they'll tell the general public things they want to hear. Like everybody was so, excited. Oh, universal basic income, an extra $2,000 per month for every household. That's nothing. Especially coming from a man who built his wealth on entrepreneurship. So why? I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're African American, many people shared, his meme all over social media where he talked about in the year 2054, Black Americans, where they would be financially because of artificial intelligence and AI and all this other stuff. But the problem that I had with all that he was saying was he wasn't telling anyone to be an entrepreneur like he was. When he went in front of the African American audiences. Now, I've heard him speak in front of other audience, like when he spoke in front of, the Silicon Valley folks and all this other stuff. His commentary was totally different. Now he's talking about, entrepreneurship and how great it is and all this other stuff. But when he gets around those who are financially struggling, like Black Americans, he's telling them, I'm going to give you $2,000. And whether you're African American or not, if $2,000 appeals to you, that the government is going to give you an extra $2,000 a month, and that appeals to you, something is wrong. You are going to be in a cycle of ongoing poverty. And what's going to happen is you're going to pass it on to your children. And once again, it doesn't matter who the president is. If you're struggling with, bully Trump, you're going to struggle again when the next president comes after him, whether it's him or someone else, because you're reading from the wrong playbook. So you can't be mad when U.S.-based companies that make billions and billions of dollars don't pay taxes. It's because they understand leverage. What is the leverage? The workers. They leverage workers. They leverage workers. What does Amazon leverage? They leverage workers, and then they also leverage people who sell things on their platform. It's the ultimate leverage. You have a selling marketplace of people who get to really, once again, the people who are selling on the platform, they understand entrepreneurship. But Amazon, being the billion-dollar based company, definitely gets it. And that's why they can make billions and billions of dollars and pay no taxes, because they understand leverage. So, understand, you cannot continue to go on and not want to understand these principles. It's more than just, I want to raise my credit score. I did a video on this yesterday where I talked about 2 days ago, a commenter, one of the individuals who commented said they're $20,000 in debt. Do the numbers on compounded interest, not simple interest, compounded interest. What does that mean? That means the interest compounds on a daily basis. What throws people off, and this is where financial illiteracy comes in, is people don't understand how to calculate the APR. So they see that APR number that's in back of their credit card statement, and it says annual, and they're thinking that's an annual number. That's the fool you. So you're thinking it's simple interest, but it's a compounded annual APR. It is calculated on a daily basis. So you're $20,000 in debt, and like I said, without me knowing what the person makes, but even if they made 60, they're not bringing 60 home gross. They bring in 30. So now you have debts that's just about as much as you bring home, and that's not included your daily things that you just need to survive, for survival. That don't even include that. That is why, when I say about you being debt free is relative to the money that you bring into your household. Because if you only have one income, you are going to go into financial ruins in this country. No one is telling you that. No financial candidate is telling you that. Even someone like an Andrew Yang, who's built his wealth, seems like, on, with entrepreneurship, which is great. He understands it. But he gets into, he goes on stations like The Breakfast Club, and, and he's sharing things to really get a group and segment of people all in arms about some universal basic health care and $2,000 extra a month, when you're not educating people on why entrepreneurship is the only way. It's the only way, because it ultimately allows you to now get on the same level and playing field to be able to leverage the tax laws, to be able to leverage credit, to be able to use debt. I'm not talking about using debt and credit to buy consumer items, to take the trip to Disney. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about using credit and debt to pay for back to school shopping. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. See, this is a real talk conversation that a lot of people don't like to have. It's a real uncomfortable conversation. That's why I said in the beginning of this video, it don't have nothing to do about with who to vote for. You vote for whoever the candidate you think. But one thing I know for sure, thank you. How you doing, Charles? One thing I know for sure, If you're financially struggling now, whatever candidate that you vote for, your bank account ain't gonna change. You get that, when you go and vote, you get that moment of, uh, you know, I voted. And once again, please don't tell me nothing about what the rights that our people had, to vote and not vote. I totally get that story. My mother was born in the 30s, Jim Crow South. I get it, so I didn't have to read in a history book. A lot of times I have family members who are still living today, who are, so I understand that narrative. But they also understand that we are in different times now. The narrative is your financial narrative. And the financial narrative is that if you do not face poverty in the face and call it what it is and not make excuses for it, a lot of people are making excuses for their poverty and they're not getting disgusted with it. And you know what, and that may be the case. But see, I know I'm working on what's best for my family, because I don't want to pass on what was passed on with me. Don't get me wrong, my parents did the best with what they had. We live in different times now where information is accessible right from at your fingertips. The libraries are still free the last I checked. There's a ton of stuff on Amazon. People are giving away books. People are selling books for 99 cents. There's a ton of free PDFs online. There's no reason not to execute. And let's not forget, you still got YouTube. So there's no reason why we're still complaining and we're still wondering. That's why it's really, I can't bring home enough. Don't get distracted. Some of us, our eyes are on the wrong ball. Because I'm telling you, if you're hurting financially now, it doesn't matter what president comes in office, you're gonna still hurt financially. So that's really all that I have. I can't stress enough why, you know, even if you work a job, I'm not saying go quit your job, jump into entrepreneurship. Because the one thing about entrepreneurship, although you have the ability to create your own paycheck, there are still things to learn. But I do believe that people should also be doing that, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat. You want to sell cupcakes, sell dinners, sell t-shirts, sell cups, sell services, buy real estate, whatever fits your thing. But you need to have something else. Something needs to be producing income for you. Money doesn't come from a job. Money comes from assets. You either buying them or you're creating them. But assets produce income, not a job. Not a job. Even though I understand your teachers in school may have told you that, your family may have told you that may have been all that you saw all your life, and well, I know if I work a job, I get a paycheck. But that's why you need to also plug in to something different. Plug into something different. Because it saddens me when I get emails with people talking about they about to get sued. Although I have videos on what to do, but when people are still talking about in 2019 and getting sued by debt collectors, that's why I'm so I get disgusted by the griminess of the credit industry when they're trying to have people to think that there are shortcuts to getting stuff. And really all it is just a setback for you financially. all it's going to do is put you financially, set you back. I had someone that last week who reached out to me 2 years ago, did a consultation with me. I don't know, maybe what I said just wasn't too interesting to him. I guess last year or what have you, or earlier this year, person got some trade lines. Didn't work out so great. 2 years later, back to square one. Consultation with me, ready to get on the straight and narrow road. It's real talk out there. It's real talk out there. So don't get distracted. Don't get distracted. Plug into something different. Like I said, when you plug into something different, the narrative is probably going to be different than what you're used to listening to. That's what I find. I find that a lot of people, the reason why it's hard for them to get change or want change is because it's so, the commentary is so different than what they're used to. So this is that's all I have. I just wanted to talk about that. Like I said, poverty charges interest is real out there. But if you're interested in any services that I have, all the links will be below this video. Please like and share and comment. Let me know your thoughts. Like I said, this is not a political video on who you should vote for. You vote for whoever think has the best interest for you. But the one thing that I know that you better pay attention to, you better pay attention to your bank account. You better pay attention to, how you doing financially. Are you thriving? Are you just surviving? Do you ask yourself some questions? Does really the person who's the president now, do they really have a say over how you're doing, and how you're doing financially? So please let me know your thoughts. So once again, this is Lorelia, and I'm signing off.